Hey everyone, Kibler here, bringing you a preview card from the upcoming expansion Voyage to the Sunken City. And this is pretty much the most exciting time of the year to be a Hearthstone player, with not only a all-new set coming with all new cards, but the entire rotation. We have an entire year of cards disappearing, and also a new core set coming to shake things up. First year we're seeing rotation in that. Haven't really heard information so far, but all told, just a ton of stuff changing, and that is what is absolutely the most fun to be a collectible card game fan. Opportunities to really reinvent various strategies and to see what from the old formats and old sets is going to carry over and what's going to work and what is going to be all new. And speaking of things carrying over, we've had some themes throughout the various classes that have pretty much always carried over from set to set and year to year. You know, Warrior, obviously, they got their weapons, they got their control, they're looking to grind things out, play a long game, stay alive with armor. You know, Hunters, they smork, they hit you in the face, they shoot you down. Priest has had some struggles with identity over the years as things have come and gone from sets, but one thing has really kind of been very consistent in sort of the theme of Priest, which is their love of spells. Frequently, Priests have a lot of decks that use a bunch of individual spells in combination, often in combination with minions. You know, going all the way back to Classic with Pyromancer, Wild Pyromancer, Northshire Cleric, Circle of Healing, and Power Word Shield, all these little fidgety things that come together and turn out to be very, very powerful. And that has really extended throughout the years. You had everything from the much memed on Purify Priest that ultimately ended up being a powerful deck in its own right during the competitive seasons that it was available. Things like the APM Test Subject Priest, or even now where we see the Miracle Priest, or even just Bonk Priest, that are very viable, if not terribly popular decks in the current standard format. Some of those decks that still do exist in the form of say, Miracle Priest, are losing a lot of key cards. You know, we're seeing the rotation of Palm Reading, of Sethek Veilweaver, of Nizami Bloodweaver, along with an open question about what happens to some of the core set cards like Thrive in the Shadow or Holy Smite. But we've already seen some tools that have been revealed that definitely lend themselves toward a sort of spell combo-ish style priest. You know, we've seen Handmaiden definitely wants to be playing a bunch of spells, and we have seen the Serpent Wig, which is itself a spell that wants you to play minions, which then give you more spells. So the sort of synergistic combination of spells and minions that want spells and kind of chaining together is definitely there. We've seen the inklings of it, but now we're going to see one of sort of the big payoff cards. Well, maybe not payoff cards, but one of the big enablers to making this all work. Here we have Priestess Valishj. Priestess Valishj. At least, I think that's how it's pronounced. Priestess Valishj, a zero-cost minion. 1/1, woo, Wisp power creep going on right here. Priestess Valishj has Battlecry, refresh an empty mana crystal for each spell you've cast this turn. She is a Naga, so she does have the synergy with Serpent Wig herself, and obviously anything else that cares about Naga, but most importantly, this is not only a zero-cost 1/1, this is effectively a negative cost minion. This is something that you can use to refresh a ton of mana crystals after you've had a big combo turn. You know, say you're trying to play your Handmaidens and your Serpent Wigs to, you know, get your spells going and get more cards off the Handmaidens and more Serpent Wigs, and you're just kind of doing all this fiddly stuff. Well, all of a sudden, boom, you have the Priestess Valishj come down and refresh all of your mana crystals so you can keep going with your crazy combo turn. And we haven't necessarily seen what the real payoffs for this will be. Obviously, in the past, we have had things like the aforementioned Sethek Veilweaver, Nizami Bloodweaver, that just give you kind of this ability to churn through and keep generating things and reducing costs. This isn't cost reduction per se, but it is something that can allow you to sort of continue the chain of spell casts once you've hit a certain certain point and maybe have a big payoff, like a big minion to come down at the end, or something to that effect. Obviously, it itself isn't going to win you the game, but in combination with things that are drawing you extra cards and things that are letting you play more things, it can certainly allow you to generate a massive amount of gameplay and board presence potentially in a single turn. A couple things important to note: this is refresh an empty mana crystal, so this can't give you more mana than your total mana to spend. It is a legendary card, so you can only play with one of them, and while Raise Dead is rotating out, there may be other ways that you can get additional copies of Priestess Valishj to your hand. I don't have actually any information about that. I'm just sort of speculating. Maybe in Wild you're playing this and Raise Dead and just keep going off crazily with a ton of spells, and maybe it's your only minion. I don't know. You could do some pretty wild things in Wild. That's part of why it's the name of the format. Because Priestess Valishj doesn't actually give you extra mana to play with, you probably want to hold off until the later stages of the game when you have a lot of mana crystals for her to refresh, and maybe she can combo you into something with, say, I don't know, Gadgets and Auctioneer is a classic one, or perhaps some sort of damage-based combo. Priest doesn't really necessarily have stuff like Mind Blast anymore, but there are things like Void Shard, so maybe you can Void Shard, after a bunch of stuff, Priestess into somehow casting more Void Shards that you discovered. I don't know. Really, this isn't like the win conditions. It's kind of just part of the engine. And with just these cards that we have seen revealed, the Handmaiden, the Serpent Wig, and the Priestess Valishj, that's kind of an engine into itself. As long as we have just some cheap spells for her to play with, which we've definitely seen, Priest has that kind of thing all over the place. I feel like this is a card that is likely to lead to a lot of people having the sort of fist of frustration shaking at their screen when their opponent takes a seemingly endless turn and the rope keeps burning, and then all of a sudden, they're dead. So if you are someone who loves the crazy, fiddly priest spell combo engines, this is definitely the card for you. So I'm looking forward to seeing what else there is in the Sunken City, and I hope to see you all there very soon.